All right, everybody. Happy playoffs. It is the play-in tournament week. So Greg and I are filling the void. We're doing a playoff players draft. And don't worry, we got a Magic Celtics preview coming up for you, but we're going to save that for Friday, Coffee and C's. So if you want our full-scale Magic Celtics game one happening Sunday, 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central, tune in Friday morning for Friday Coffee and C's. Today, we're doing a playoff players draft. What is that, you ask? Stick around and find out. This is Green with Envy. Let's lock in. What up, what up, what up? Welcome into another edition of Green with Envy. As always, this is your boy Will Weir checking in. How you doing? How you living? Welcome to the best time of the year. The NBA playoffs is starting right now, and I cannot wait. So excited. Sunday, 3:30, tip-off for your Boston Celtics and the Orlando Magic. Game one, as mentioned at the top, we'll have a preview of that Friday, Coffee and C's. But for now, let me welcome in my best friend, co-host, and the coach of our podcast, the one and only Greg Manakis. Greg, happy playoff season to you, brother.
Happy playoffs. Did you watch the games last night? The 7-8 games.
I watched parts of both. So I was in and out on both of them. Caught the important parts. I caught Paolo being able to control a game with shooting the ball horribly.
Mhm.
I caught Trae Young being a little bitch. And the Magic eventually steamrolling the Hawks. So I caught everything I needed to in that one. Again, we'll preview that full series, guys, coming up on Friday morning. And then I'm actually really curious. I watched basically the entire, a little bit of the first quarter for Grizzlies Warriors, and then watched the entire about midway through the third quarter through the end of the game. Really fun game. Really enjoyable game.
Blast.
I'm just kind of curious to get your thoughts before we get into this player draft. I'm curious to get your thoughts on that game, because that was an entertaining game.
I mean, the biggest thing is Steve Kerr just continues to infuriate me ever since watching him coach Jason Tatum during the Olympics. And now I see what he's doing to Jonathan Kuminga. And like, I know Kuminga was in and out of the lineup. He was hurt this year, but it just makes no sense to me why he is benching him when he's clearly going to need him in the playoffs. Like, to
He
think
can't
that
be
they're going to
useless.
be
Like,
Yeah.
you can have issues with Kuminga. He's not useless. Like, that's the biggest thing.
He's better than that Santos kid that they were throwing out there from Brazil.
You watch your mouth. I'm pretty sure. I'm like 90% sure he's Brazilian. All right, so
he's
watch
definitely
your goddamn
Brazilian.
mouth.
He's Anderson Varejão's like little twin, and I mean, just seeing him put Santos out there over Kuminga was driving me crazy during the game. Like, if I was a Warriors fan, which I like sort of have become just because I'm such a Steph fan over the years,
Right.
like the Warriors, other than when they beat the Celtics, like they're typically the other team that I have a just affinity for. And seeing what he's doing to Kuminga, it just reminds me of how I felt during the summertime when I was just saying horrible things about Steve Kerr for benching Jason Tatum. It was just like clear at some point you're going to need Jonathan Kuminga during these playoffs, like going up against one of the most athletic teams in the Houston Rockets.
Right.
You think you're going to be able to get through that team without your best athlete? I don't see that happening, buddy.
Yeah, it's just very strange to go, and I know that Kuminga has always been not the odd man out, but he's. I'm tentative to say he doesn't play Warrior basketball because they play like a very specific, intelligent, high IQ basketball. And it's not that he doesn't do it. I think maybe his decision making isn't quite quick enough, but you've seen enough that he's done some things where you're like, oh shit, look at what Kuminga's doing. And like, it's probably not as consistent as you'd like, but to your point, he is an A++ athlete. Like, he is at the top, like aside from the Thompson twins, like he's one of the next names that comes up in those top tier athletes. And so to your point, I don't understand how they're going to get by this Rocket series without him. And so playing him a combined 0 minutes in your last two essentially playoff games, right? Because that Clippers game was to stay out of the play-in altogether, and that goes to overtime. And then the game last night against the Grizzlies, which they barely get out alive, which I think I saw you tweet about this. How mad were the refs making you last night?
I just don't get
it was both
referees.
ways. The referees were horrible both ways. Like, there were so many bad calls. But let me ask you this, because Usually I'm on the side of I think we talk about the refs far too much. The
Mhm.
refereeing was pretty bad in that game last night on
Yeah,
both sides. But having come off just watching more NCAA basketball than I do all season, just watching March Madness, those refs are way worse than the NBA refs. Like,
definitely.
it made me appreciate that even though if I was a fan of the Grizzlies or Warriors last night and I had some issues, and if I'm being real, my biggest issue is a little quick on the 5-second call to decide the game. Like,
Yeah.
I don't
I mean,
know,
he
man.
was
Let him
he was,
inbound
like,
the ball.
about to inbound the ball as the guy goes to blow his whistle.
He
It's like,
blew
"Just
the
let him
whistle
inbound the
as
ball,
his
dude."
arm was going up. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like, dude, we don't want to
And
see the
as his
call.
arm's going up, like, literally, the guy's reaching out to make the pass. I think it was Aldama. He's reaching out to
Yeah,
make a bounce pass, and the ball's, like, almost out of his hand when the whistle blows. It's like, "Just let him pass the fucking ball in." Nobody wants
right.
to see you blow your whistle there, dude.
Like, out of all the calls, that was the one that bothered me the most because I was watching it in bed, so I didn't really look. I was watching it on my phone, and I was like, that seemed a little quick, but I was like, all right, whatever. I'm going to bed. And I woke up this morning, and people were all like, yeah, what was up with that call? It's like, all right, cool. It wasn't just like me half.
2-minute report said it was fine, though. They said it was an actual 5-second.
I mean, by the letter of the law, it
Yeah.
probably
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
At the end of the day, like I wanted to see John Moran or Desmond Bain throw up a desperation heave. There
Yeah,
was 5 seconds left. It wasn't even like it was like, oh, it's a point four. It's like with 5 seconds left, someone can set a pick and you might get a really cool moment. And instead,
right.
we
The
more free.
Warriors were owed one, though, because Podziemski definitely blocked that shot at the rim where they called the foul, so,
Yeah, and then there was also the Scottie Pippen one where he didn't foul him either.
yeah,
I
that was a
forget
few minutes
who that was
before.
on. There was a lot of calls, but uh, man, I don't know what to make of that Grizzlies team. I feel like as they've been struggling, and obviously they fired their coach a couple weeks ago with like 9 games left to go, and their biggest thing is they haven't beat like a real winning team in like 3 months, which is insane. But I feel like every time I watch them, one, I'm at least entertained, and
Yeah,
two, it's usually a good game. Like they lose, but it's either they're making a comeback or they get a big lead and then they can't sustain it. They always end up losing is the common thread, but
mhm.
it's like they're not that like they have a lot of talent. They're not that bad. Desmond Bain was good in this game. I don't know what to make of how you try to understand what's happened to the Grizzlies this year.
Yeah, I don't know either, man. I don't watch enough Grizzlies ball to like really have a opinion on like how they've been playing over the last couple
Yeah.
months. But it's just like you would assume they'd be better than they are. With
Yeah.
Jackson being an All NBA guy, Bain being a borderline All Star, and then Ja being an All World type player. And they've got some decent role players in Aldama, Edie, and Scottie Pippen Jr. I know
Hmm.
that they lost their young kid to the broken wrist, who was
Oh,
their kind
Jalen.
of
Yeah.
yeah, he was their big wing defender, and then Brandon Clark is a big part of their team as well. So they're definitely missing a few pieces. I think Dylan Brooks. they've missed Dylan Brooks, dude. They kind of
They
just
do
he's
actually.
kind of like that player, the prototype of player that they need, and he was the guy that gave them that extra grit of the grit
Mhm.
and grind, and there doesn't seem to be enough of that these days.
Yeah, well, that was a good appetizer last night. I enjoyed that game. So that sets the stage for what it's going to be here for the next 2 months. The 9-10 games are playing as we're recording this. We're not going to cover that here. Look somewhere else for that. You can find it if you want to.
Looks like the Heat are
Uh,
going to win. They're up
yeah.
102-82 as we're recording.
Yep, and then we'll see what happens in what is probably the most depressing basketball game in a while. The Kings and Mavericks. Just I don't understand why either of those fan bases are probably praying for a loss tonight. Just like end the season. I don't want to do this any more than we have to. But with that being said, we have a different concept that we want to try tonight, and this is a playoff players draft. Which Greg, I know you got this from one of our buddies here. So I'm gonna back out. I'm gonna throw you the ball like it's Paul Pierce with 9 seconds on the clock. I'm gonna let you ISO
Yeah.
and explain to everybody what we got going on here.
So it's just a basic NBA players draft for total points throughout the playoffs. So as we're going through, so Will and I will go back and forth picking players. We don't even need to snake it. We can if you want, Will, but we can just go like back and forth with the draft.
Yeah,
And
just go back and
basically,
forth. It's fine.
yeah, all you're thinking about is which players are going to play for the longest throughout the playoffs and which players are going to score enough in the limited amount of time that they might play within the playoffs, right? So as we're drafting, basically the players we should be drafting early in the draft are the players that we think are going to make it to the NBA finals because they will have the most games and most opportunities to score the most points. However, one thing that as I've been thinking about this all day, I have a little bit of a head start on you, Will, is like you also have to think about the teams that might just sweep their way to the playoffs because it's
Yes,
total
I thought
points,
about
right?
this too.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so if you're only playing 4 games in round one versus somebody that's playing 7 games in round one, also have to consider that.
Yeah. So there's a couple different things that you gotta factor in here. And the other part is 2 players max per team, right?
Yes, 2 players max per
It,
team. Each of us is going to get 12 players.
okay. And so question on the 2 players max per team, is that between the two of us that we can only have 2 players total, or is that like I can have 2 Celtics and you can have 2 Celtics, or is
Correct.
it
We can each have 2.
okay? Okay, that changes it a little bit. That helps my board a little bit here because I was getting a little bit worried when I was putting my big board together. But all right, let's share the screen here, Greg, and you guys are gonna see if you're watching us on YouTube. We have a sheet here that I'm gonna give Greg credit that he put it together. He didn't, but I'm gonna give him credit here that he put together this beautiful spreadsheet that we have to work with here. And all right, yeah, Greg, you had a head start. Do I get first pick, or how are we
Yeah,
gonna
you
do
can you
this?
can get first pick, but I just want to give a quick shout out to my guy Brett Hazard. His boys do this every year, and they have like this spreadsheet. As you can see, it's very elaborate. There are formulas built in. So I just made a copy of the spreadsheet, stole all the formulas, and now we're using it for the pod. But I got permission from Hazard. He was the one that actually told me we should do it for the pod. So here we are.
I love it. I love it. Brett, shout out to you, man. We need content out here. So, all right, well, I'll be honest, Greg. I think the first 2 picks are extremely easy. So
Mhm.
I think we might even fly through them. Number 1 pick here, I'm going Jason Tatum. That's for
Okay.
me is pretty easy. I'm pretty sure I know who you're going to go with. Number 2, I won't say it. I'll let you say it yourself. But just the reasoning on Tatum being the number 1 guy is I think the Celtics are going to the finals. I think the Celtics are going to be in the finals. I think Tatum's going to be the leading scorer like he's been all year. And I think his road to the finals is more of a sure thing than the guy that I think is going to go number 2 by just a little bit. And so that's kind of the difference between these two for me is that there's a slight chance the other guy gets tripped up before he gets there. There's less of a chance of that happening to Tatum, although anything is possible. That's why this game is fun here. But Tatum's the number 1 pick for me.
Yeah, it's a great pick. I'm going to go with SGA.
Yep.
Grab him there. I'm assuming in my mind, it's either going to be the Thunder or the Lakers that are making it to the finals. That's kind of just the way that I'm seeing the West right now. There's obviously a chance, it's Nuggets and Clippers in the 4-5 matchup, right? So second round, you got the Thunder going up against Jokic or the Thunder going up against Kawhi Leonard that should be healthy if the Clippers are making it to the second round. So should be pretty interesting there. But I'm going to go SGA. He's been borderline MVP all year. It's him or Jokic, leading scorer in the league, and I think there's a good chance that some of those series go a little bit longer for the Thunder out west. So I think they'll probably even play more games than the Celtics will
Mm-hmm.
on their road to the finals. I think the Celtics. I'm just going to tell you right now. I'll save it for Friday.
Yeah. Save that for Friday. But I'm with you, and I think that's the other part that you're right. I may have to recalibrate for some of this. Is like not only do I think they're going to win, but I think they're probably going to be playing longer series. Like that's an interesting wrinkle to this, right? Because I pulled this up before I started making my big board here of looking at last year's point total leaders for the
Mhm.
entire playoffs.
Yeah.
It's an interesting mix. Like there's some guys that make sense where the top 2 spots are going to be, or the top 4 spots are going to be from the 2 teams that make the NBA finals. But then after that, it's really kind of mixed of some guys that made the second round, third round, like depending on the volume, because some of them may have had 2 rounds, but they got 14 games versus maybe
Right.
a team, like the Celtics, they had the same thing, 14 games to get through 3 rounds.
Hmm.
So it kind of like evens out a little bit. So with that, this third pick, I'm a little tentative to go all in on the 2 teams that I think are going to be in the final. So I want to diversify a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think the West is just so much of a crapshoot. There's going to be some guys that I should be in this spot that might lose in the first round. You just really
Hmm.
don't know. So I'm going to go with my third pick, and I'm going to take Donovan Mitchell is going to
Ooh.
be my pick right here. Basically, I struggle to see a world in which it's not Celtics and Cavaliers, and I think he's going to be for sure the leading scorer on the Cavaliers. So if the Celtics don't make it, it's going to be the Cavaliers, in my opinion, or I'll be really shocked if any team besides the 2 of them is in the finals out of the East.
Yeah.
So he's the leading scorer. He's the third pick. This way, at least one of the two teams representing the East, I should have their leading scorer going throughout the entire playoffs.
Yeah, that's a pretty good pick, man. That's a pretty good pick. I think, yeah. Now as I'm kind of going through it, I'm debating. You know, who do I really think is going to be the second most likely team to make the finals out west? Because there's a world in which the T Wolves just take down the Lakers in round one. As much as I
Right.
really
There's
like
four
what I'm
guys.
seeing out
There's
of the
plenty
Lakers.
of guys in that series I love that probably should have been that pick, but I'm like, you guys could be out in 6 games, and that's it.
Right. Yeah, I shouldn't overthink this though. I think it's Luca. I think you got to go Luca here. The Lakers, I think the Lakers should take down the T Wolves, and it's probably going to go 7 games. So I know I'm at least getting 7 games out of Luca,
Mhm.
and he'll probably average 30. So that's 210 points right there. So
Yeah.
I'll take those 210 points in the bank.
Yeah, and for the record, he was by far and away the leading scorer of last year's playoffs. I don't know if you looked it up, but do you venture to guess how? So he played in 22 games.
Mm-hmm.
Do you venture to guess how many points he scored in total?
Yeah, I think it was somewhere around 700 or like mid 600s.
It was it was 635, and then in second place was Kyrie, who was 487. So
Yeah,
far and away the leading
yeah,
scorer,
good
and part of
value
that
with
is
the
like you
number 4
said,
pick there.
good, great value, and part of that is like you said. Then Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown were 3-4, but they played 3 less games than both of those guys. So
Right.
you got to factor that in as well. Okay, so this swings back to me here, and this is where my gut says I want to go with Anthony Edwards for all the reasons that you just mentioned with Luka.
Mm,
But I really think the Lakers are going to beat the Timberwolves, so I don't really love that pick.
right.
So for that reason, I'm going strategy here. I'm going to take Jalen Williams from the Thunder.
Okay. Um, he's got to prove it in these playoffs, man. He's got to prove
Yeah,
it.
I mean, so this is the thing. If OK, that's the only question with OKC is between him and Chet, do they have a real number 2 when they need it? Right? Like that's like
Mhm.
really kind of that and a little bit will the shooting hold up that they need to, because if you cut off SGA and their shooting goes cold, then kind of what happens. But they go hand in hand, I think, the shooting and then having a number 2 scorer to generate offense.
Right.
The thing for me that scares me and I don't want to say scares me, but is I think is a little bit interesting to think about as a Celtics fan is because the West is so tough as we're talking about it. If they get to the finals, it probably means they figured out that Jalen Williams and or Chet is like that dude to be the number 2, like because their road is going to be
It's a good point.
that
Yeah.
much tougher. Although I do think that their road broke, even though it's tougher, I think it broke just about as well as it possibly could, given that they're going to get a struggling Memphis and or the Depression Bowl winner, and
Mhm.
then from there you get, is Kawhi going to make it to a round 2? Like I love Kawhi for one round with extra days off, but if he's not there, Clippers are they're a cool story. They're not beating the Thunder. They're not going to give them much of a challenge without Kawhi. And the Nuggets are all Jokic or bust. Like I believe in nothing of the Nuggets right now except for Jokic's exceptionalism. So
Mhm.
if they can get to that, and then potentially you get either the Warriors or Lakers, who are both super old by playoff standards as far as
Yep.
what you need to get through 3 rounds of a playoffs. So you could get a tired LeBron, Luca we've seen break down, or not break down, but kind of get more tired as the playoffs go on. Steph, Jimmy, Draymond, are they holding up? Or maybe the Rockets put something together, and the if they're putting like right,
Hey,
like you
hey,
just laugh.
I'm gonna pause you there because you can't just throw all your playoffs thoughts into 2 minutes
That's
here.
true. That's true.
We got a lot of picks to get through. Okay. I'm gonna go. So right now we Sorry about that, my guy.
That's all good. It happens. I think I talked for so long that it just froze your computer up.
I think so. I think so. All right, we're back. We're back. Sorry, internet issues, everybody. So, just to recap, Will has Jason Tatum, Donovan Mitchell, and Jalen Williams thus far. I have SGA and Luka Doncic. I have the young guns that I'm going with, the young superstars. I'm going to keep that going. I don't know if he's going to make it out of round one, but I'm going to grab Anthony Edwards while he's on the board here because there's nobody on the Lakers that can guard him, Will. And I think he'll probably average like 40 points in the first round. So, I'm going to go with Ant. So now I've got SGA, Luka, and Ant. And I think that's a pretty strong first three picks.
That's a real strong first pick. That's you've got the right guys. We're playing it's I kind of like what's happening here. We're playing two different games. I'm going kind of the long haul with guys that aren't as prolific scorers. You're getting the top scorers. It's just a matter of how long are they going to be there. So I'm going to continue with my game plan here, and I'm going to grab a second Jalen. I'm loading up on the Jalen's. I'm grabbing Jalen Brown right now. Jalen Brown, who finished 4th in scoring last postseason with a total of 454 points. I'm going to grab that again. It reports out of practice. Knee looks okay. I'm choosing to speak it into existence that it's going to be okay, and I'm picking him as another form of trying to speak the goodwill of Jalen Brown into the universe.
I am hopeful that knee is okay, bro. I am very hopeful. I was gonna pick him over Ant with my last pick, but something about the way that Jalen looked over the last few weeks, man, has me not feeling great.
I'm believing in it. I'm believing in these reports and these 2-second video clips that people are trying to push on me on the internet that they're real.
I love it. All right, I'm gonna go with Nikola Jokic.
Again, you're grabbing the right guys.
So I have SGA, Luka, and Jokic. You have Tatum, Mitchell, J Dub, and Jalen Brown. I like my names. I think, if there's a very real chance that Jokic just goes on a historic postseason to follow up possibly the greatest statistical season of all time. So I like that pick. And it is only total points here, everybody. We're not going points, rebounds, assists. So just total points.
That'd be a whole different beast.
That's all we're thinking about.
Whole different beast if that's the case. And I think Jokic was the right pick. That was going to be my pick if you didn't make him. But since you did make that pick, Greg, let me ask you. You know what's better than 2 Jalen's?
3 Jalen's.
3 Jalen's. Give me Jalen Brunson.
He was the other guy I was thinking about.
Listen, I'm not getting past 2 rounds with Jalen Brunson, but I'm going to get a lot out of him. He is and you can say whatever you want. I'm sure Cal will get picked here at some point. It all still runs through Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson is what will or will not make that team go. I actually think they're going to get through the Pistons in 5. Maybe that series goes to 6. Now that we're doing this, I'm probably rooting for 6. In my head, I was thinking, I think it's probably going to be a 5 game series. I think their talent's too overwhelming, but he's going to get to the second round somehow, some way. So he's going to get double-digit games most likely under his belt. So I like this pick with Jalen Brunson. Give me all the Jalen's.
Yeah, I was going to pick him once again, and then I thought about when are the Knicks going to get eliminated, and it's going to be in the second round against the Celtics. And I would at least hope that Jokic can there's a world in which Jokic makes it to round 3 or round 4. So I'm living on that hope. All right,
so wait,
I'm going to go
real quick without a deep explanation. Are you picking, so you regardless of this draft, do you think the Nuggets beat the Clippers?
I do think the Nuggets beat the Clippers. Yeah.
All right, Clippers look pretty good right now with the way Kawhi's playing. It's making me think. I don't know. It's a toss up for me, but
yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I'm considering here, right? Is I'm trying to grab of those toss up series, can I grab one of the 2 stars that could make it to the next round, right? I grabbed Ant or Luka, Jokic, and right now I'm gonna grab Kawhi. So you're kind of doing my thinking for me, and I appreciate that. But I'm gonna go Kawhi there. Just as I just explained, it's all about making sure for each series that I have one of the 2 stars that could go to the next round. So right now, just to recap everybody where we're at, we're about a third of the way through. Will has Tatum, Mitchell, J-Dub, Jalen Brown, and Jalen Brunson. I have SGA, Luka, Ant, Jokic, and Kawhi.
I like it. This is fun. I'm really happy we did this. I'm having a good time doing this.
Good.
Uh,
You love a
all right,
draft. You're a
yeah,
sucker for a
a
draft.
draft is great. I'm going to your strategy here. I'm going best player on the board, and if he keeps it going, he's gonna make a run. Give me Giannis, the
Woo!
forgotten man. Giannis is
Woo!
an unbelievable pick for value at this point right here.
That's a great pick,
Yeah,
man.
I mean, listen, I think the Pacers are gonna win. I know they just got Shams just had an update that looks like Dame is out at least the beginning. I don't know what that means, but if the Bucks are gonna have any chance, Giannis is going probably 40 and 20 just about every
Yeah.
game. So even if I only get 5 or 6 games, he might go 40 points every
Yeah.
single time, and still get me a decent chunk. And if they somehow move on, it's gonna be because he's going berserk, and then he gets a second round to probably get eliminated by the Cavs. But I'll take those points.
That's a good pick, man. I kind of forgot about him on my last pick. I was just like living in the Eastern Conference. I kind of forgot to think of living in the West. Forgot to think about the East. Okay, so let me just go back to my list of all of the players that I kind of had pegged here. Um, let's see. There's some people on the board that I think still have a chance of kind of going deep in the playoffs. It's funny that you know nobody here has taken Steph. Um, are you a little concerned about Steph going up against the Rockets defense in round 1 and what those numbers might look like?
Yeah, yeah, I'm a little concerned. I mean, I'm concerned about what he's going to look against the Rockets, and then therefore not even getting out of that round. So I'm worried about
Right.
that just being a borderline negative pick. I mean, it's tough to say Steph Curry's going to be complete negative. I'm sure he'll figure something out, but that team's just so young, so athletic. Him and Jimmy both seem kind of banged up, and so it just
Mhm.
seems like it's just asking for the Rockets to be able to pull this off.
Yeah, I actually really like your Giannis pick the more I'm thinking about it because I think there's a world in which they could beat the Pacers. I think they could get swept by the Pacers, but I think there's a world in which they could beat the Pacers and then take down the Cavs if they
Dude,
get
him
Dame
and
for round
Jokic
2.
are in like mirror image spots where it's like I believe
Yeah.
in nothing about your teams, but I believe in the two of you because I still, in my heart of hearts, think those are probably the two best players in the world. And
Yeah,
I'm
me
like, the
too.
two of you are going to get stats. It's just a matter of is it going to be enough to get you 4 wins and 7 against two teams that I think are probably definitely overall better than yours. And I
Yeah.
don't know. We're going to find out what that answer is in a couple weeks.
All right, I'm gonna go LeBron. I got my 2 Lakers off the board here. So I can't pick any more Lakers. I got
Right.
LeBron.
You're heavily invested in that Lakers Minnesota series.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
either getting Ant or Luka and LeBron going through, so
Yeah, yeah. Do you
feeling
wanna
good
pick
about
Randall next? Is that your
Thinking
next
about it.
pick? All right, I'm going back to my original strategy of going for guys that I feel confident are gonna be in this thing for a while, and you're gonna be able to steal one of the guys I don't pick here, and I'm
Mhm.
really debating on the spot right now which one I'm gonna take. I'm just gonna stick with my gut here of what I put down. I'm gonna go Evan Mobley here with this pick.
Okay.
Um, it's between him and the other Cavalier that we also talked about a couple weeks ago for who's the best third option in the NBA. You can go
Mhm.
back and forth. My reasoning for going Mobley over Garland, who I assume at some point you're probably going to pick up here
But
now that
now I
I
can
am.
wait though, right? Just
You
like
can
you
wait.
can
You can pick him last because I'm
Yeah,
out on Cavs. Yeah.
exactly.
So you can get him whenever, just like I could wait for Austin Reeves as my
Yep.
last pick as well here. Um, but just a quick reasoning with Mobley is I feel like, especially like thinking of how the Celtics will target Garland, there's going to be Mobley's never going to get really played off the floor in any of these series. Garland, there's a potential for him to get hunted and maybe be taken off the court for lesser minutes. So I'm just going with Mobley, and I feel like this has been his season. And if the Cavs are gonna really make this run, he's probably gonna offensively go to one other level throughout this playoff run. So Mobley over Garland, going for the long haul.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. I was considering taking Garland with my last pick, so thank you for allowing me to pick him a little bit
There you go.
later. That's great. Okay, you also took 2 Celtics already, right? So I can hold
Yep.
off on a third Celtic on my team. Interesting, like the way that this is breaking right now.
Yeah, I have two Thunder
Let's
as well
see.
too. So you can wait on Chet if you want too. No, oh no, wait, you have Shea. You have Shea.
No,
Never mind. Never
I
mind.
have SGA. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna go. Who do I believe could make it to a round 2? I'm gonna go Pacers and go Halliburton.
Oh, interesting. I actually thought you might go. I mean, if we're looking at the Pacers,
Thinking Siakam.
And honestly, I probably wouldn't have thought of Siakam, except for like I told you, I have in front of me. I looked up the top playoff total point scores, and he was seventh last year.
Mm.
Let's see, what was Halliburton was 15th.
Halliburton was hurt, remember?
True, true. You're right. You're right. Actually, now as I'm looking, I did forget about that. And Siakam played 2 more games, so that makes more sense. Yeah, but they live in about the same range, so
Mhm.
I think that's a solid pick.
All right, what you got?
All right, all right. Let's see. Where do we go from here? This is where it's getting a little interesting right now as to where we go. I've got 2 guys. Neither of them I really want to pick. I'm trying to think if I can talk myself into anyone else here. I'm just gonna do. No, I'm not gonna do that. What am I gonna do? You know what? Let's
This
do
is
it.
tough.
I'm gonna take the big purr. Give me
Okay.
Cat. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
that was
leverage
my next
myself
pick.
on the Knicks,
That
take
was my next
myself out
pick.
of the Knick game here, and I'll let you go for OG or Mikhail if you so choose. But Cat, he's got a guy, he's got 30, 40 point potential. I think he's gonna
Mhm.
definitively get to 2 rounds, which was the separator between him and another guy, which I'm not going to name in case you want to pick him, and then I'll probably pick him next.
Okay. Yeah, I was really thinking about taking him over Halliburton. I kinda just I kinda hate them both. Just just their faces and
Greg, there's 3
the things that
guys
they
that I
act
was
on the
debating
court.
for that spot. I like none of them,
Yeah.
like personally to watch. So I was like,
Yeah.
it's a coin toss.
No, I like it. I like it though. Great value pick there. I'm gonna go Steph though with my pick,
Mhm.
just because he's Steph Curry, and I feel like I would feel really dumb if I didn't take him. So I'm gonna take Steph there.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. I'm just worried about stuff getting like the same as I was saying with like Denver Clip in the Clippers series. I'm really torn about who I think is actually going to win this series. Initially, I really thought Golden State, but then as I watch them the last couple games and I just see them feel like they're getting kind of injured, and now all this athleticism, I think it's kind of set up for potentially the Rockets to win in 5 or 6.
Mhm.
But if it goes 7, I'm fully believing in Steph and Jimmy finding a way to get it done in a 7th game.
Right.
But we'll have to see on that. So I could go Jimmy Butler here. I think that would be another
Yeah, I think that's
solid
a good
choice.
pick.
I'm not going to do that though. I'm going to go
Okay.
James Harden. James Harden is where I'm going to go here. If Kawhi's healthy, he's got a lot less responsibility. And so therefore, hopefully I mean, listen, James Harden's had some pretty low lows, but I mean, we saw in that series, what, 2 years ago with Philly? Like,
Mhm.
yeah, he choked in the last 2 games, but he also won them 2 games early in the series with some pretty big, 40-point game in game 1. I think it might have been game 4. He also had either game 4 or 5. He also had a very big game. So while he has some low lights, he still puts the ball in the bucket pretty consistently. So if we're just talking points, then that's a guy that I like to have in my back pocket.
Yeah, Jimmy's the other guy to think about here, right? But we've seen Jimmy Butler kind of have some stinker playoff games, man. Round one is typically the round that he can go crazy, though, right? He had that one
Mm,
round against the Bucks in the past where he was going up against Drew, and I think he averaged like close to 40 points. The question is, can he do that against this Rockets team with all those young wings that they have? His main matchup is going to be Dylan Brooks, and I got to ask myself, as much as I hate Dylan Brooks, like, can Jimmy Butler just give him 30 a night? I don't think so. I think the Rockets have enough wing defenders to make Jimmy's life pretty miserable. Um, and there's a world in which the Rockets just overwhelm the Warriors and beat them in 5 games, right? So I don't want
yep.
to hitch my wagon to Steph and Jimmy there. Um, so I'm gonna come back to, let's see. I'm gonna come back to the Nuggets. I'm gonna grab Jamal Murray.
That's a good one. I like that pick. If they're going beyond the first round, he's him and Jokic. That's the reason, right? Their two
Yep.
man game is back. So,
Yep.
and if he is healthy, which I have no idea, he's that dude performs in the playoffs most times. So I like that pick from you. How many more picks do we have here? What do we decide that we're doing in
Let's see.
total?
Let's see. You have one, two. I mean, we could
We should
probably
have
just do the
11
math
each right
here.
now, right?
I don't think we have 11 each, do we?
Well, we got 22 picks and 2 people.
but it's at 5. So it starts at 5.
Oh, I'm looking at the spreadsheet wrong. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I know how to do math, folks. I was just looking at the spreadsheet wrong.
So that what is it? What does that mean? We each have 9 picks.
I believe that's correct.
Okay. So we each have 9 players. So we do 3 more
Okay.
each.
3 more each. Okay, cool. I'm going with the guy that we just talked about. I'm going with Pascal Siakam here. I think there's a good
Nice.
chance Pacers get to the second round. I'm picking them to beat the Bucks. So this way I get somebody that's for sure getting, at least a minimum 8 games here. So I like the pick, the security of having someone that is likely, in my opinion, going to make it to the second round.
Love it. I need a Celtic. I'm going Derek White.
Ooh, give us the reasoning for D White over Porzingis.
Health. Derek White's an Iron Man.
Fair enough.
Porzingis last year obviously didn't play in many games in the playoffs. So, I mean, I still have 2 more picks. I could very easily still take KP because I only have 1 Celtic thus far. But I just want to grab Derek White and give a shout out to Derek White for being awesome and being the epitome of what it means to be a Boston Celtic at this point. And we're going to the finals, man. We're going to get all those games. I think if Jalen is also out, you're going to see a lot more scoring responsibility on Derek White. So this is also kind of betting against Jaylen Brown's effectiveness in these playoffs.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Good pick here. All right, we're getting down to right now. Are we going to take third or fourth options on teams, or do you go for the main guy on a team that might not make it or is likely not to make it out of the first round? And it's a tough question to answer here. So I'm looking through last year's scorers to kind of get some guidance here. And I think the smart play is going with guys that you feel better about being in there longer. And so now I am going to actually dive back into the OKC Thunder. I'm going to grab Chet Holmgren.
Okay.
So I am now off the board.
What did
when
Chet,
it comes
do you have,
to,
what are Chet's stats this year?
I can pull that up here. I don't have that in front of me here because
Look at
he only played in a handful of games, but I can get that here for us.
If you look on the player table, third tab, you should be able to find it.
Let's see here. So Chet played in 32 games. He averaged 15 points, 8 rebounds.
Okay.
Yeah, not a lot of games and 15 points. I think he's got more than that in him. So, we'll see. But when you look, Greg, at the playoff scorers from last year, here's a couple of names of guys that are in the top 20, just to give you an idea. At tied for 20 last season, we have TJ McConnell and Derek Jones Jr.
Jeez.
I'm not even going to give you more names, but that's
a good reference point to start with.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where I go with Chet Holmgren here, as I have my last couple picks.
Okay, I'm gonna go Darius Garland. Take him because I think the Cavs will be in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think he'll be the second leading scorer for the Cavs. So let's say I get 16 games out of Darius Garland. I feel pretty good about that.
Yep. And then now I got my last pick here, and there's 2 guys. I'm going to go with the guy that at least I think has a chance to get out of the first round, and it gives me a little bit more to root for. I'm going to go with Austin Reeves from the Lakers.
Good call.
I think that's a good pick here. He's hitting, dude, the way that the 3 of them have been syncing up. It's been really special to watch, and I think that they're going to beat the T-Wolves. I think that could go either way, but I'm leaning Lakers in that one definitively. And yeah, Austin Reeves getting multiple games playing off LeBron. I think if they beat the T-Wolves, I think they're going to the Western Conference Finals. So I like having Austin Reeves here as my last pick. I'm very happy with that.
My question here is, do I go
Let's
with
talk it out because let me help you with this last pick because it's the last pick. So tell me what you're thinking.
So no Rockets have been taken thus far. No Pistons have been taken this far. So Cade is on the board.
Yep.
Şengün's on the board. Jalen Green's on the board, right? Those are probably the 3 leading scorers there. I have the opportunity to take Jimmy Butler, Julius Randle, Norm Powell. Let's see, who else could I take? I could grab me Porzingis at this point, OG at this point. Maybe there's a world in which Dame comes back and the Bucks make a run. So there's a lot of different options here. I'm not going to grab Paolo or Franz because they're only getting 5 games out of them. What are your thoughts? What would you do if you were me here?
So Cade was the other guy that I was considering when I took Reeves. Some of the options you mentioned weren't available to me, but those were the two that I was looking at. And I think both first round series for those guys are going 6, but I think only one of them has a chance to be on the winning side of that 6, and so that's
Mm-hmm.
Reeves. Out of the guys that you mentioned that you have available, so Cade's only getting one series. I really don't think they can beat the Knicks. Like, I think it's a fun storyline to be like, hey, can the Pistons beat the Knicks? But at the end of the day, I really don't think that's super realistic.
Yeah.
When I just think about the talent disparity. So I think potentially KP.
I feel like it's either KP or Şengün. I feel like it's one of those two, right?
Yeah, I thought about Jalen Green for a hot second too, because if he gets hot like that, I mean, if the Rockets move on, it's Jalen Green getting hot is probably a part of that. Is the other
Mm-hmm.
part that I was kind of factoring into it. But
Yeah.
Şengün's pretty solid. He's probably the I would probably go KP because you're getting 3 rounds, but I think Şengün is also a solid bet.
Whoa! I'm
Because
getting 3 rounds out of KP.
I meant I guess I meant like a minimum out of 3 rounds.
Okay, all right. I
Yeah,
hope
my
the
bad.
minimum is.
Wait,
I hope the minimum is 4. Yeah,
the
I'm gonna go.
minimum should be 4, but you know understand my point. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go KP. Yeah, I think that's a good call. It stinks that I don't have my out for the 2-7 out west. Guys that didn't get picked, man. Jimmy Butler didn't get picked. Şengün didn't get picked. It's kind of crazy. Jimmy Butler didn't get picked in this.
I did forget one guy that you could have taken. Darius Garland was the other pick.
I picked Garland.
Did you pick Garland already?
Yeah, that was my second to last pick.
Oh, right before that. Okay, never mind. My bad.
Yep.
Um,
Oh, but
yeah,
here's a little wrinkle, Will.
yes.
At the end of round 1, you have the opportunity to drop one of your existing players who makes it through and add somebody that made it through that you didn't expect to make it through.
So you can only drop from people that are still playing.
Right.
Okay, I got what you're saying. So let's say I'm not going to do this, but let's say I want Jaylen Brown's knees looking kind of shaky. I'm like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
I can drop Jaylen and I could pick up Peyton Pritchard, or I could
Right.
drop Jaylen and pick up, Jared Allen or whatever.
There you go.
Cool. All right. I like it. That was fun.
That's fun.
That's
Yeah,
our
man.
player draft. Greg, real quick, can you go through and read? Here, I'll read my team. You read your team. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
So my team heading into the NBA playoffs here for our playoff pick'em, we've got Jason Tatum, Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Williams, Jaylen Brown, Jalen Brunson, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Evan Mobley, Karl Anthony Towns, James Harden, Pascal Siakam, Chet Holmgren, Austin Reeves to round it out.
All right, my team. Remember, this is total points for the playoffs. SGA, Luka, Ant, Jokic, Kawhi, LeBron, Halliburton, Steph, Jamal Murray, Derek White, Darius Garland, and Kristaps Porzingis.
There it is, folks. And we will keep you up to date as the playoffs go on. Like Greg said, we'll throw a little wrinkle in there for the next couple of rounds. But each round, we'll do a check-in, let you know where we're at with total points. Obviously, the teams that go on further are going to have a better chance. But shout out to our guy, Brett, for letting us co-op this idea here for the podcast. We're about to bring it to everybody across Boston, start putting some money on it. We'll turn it into, actually, we should do this. If this works later on for future seasons, we'll turn this into some type of pool that we can find a way to make work like fantasy. But this was fun, Greg. I'm glad that we did this, and we're going to be back Friday morning. We'll do our full preview podcast. Celtics, Magic, Game 1, going down Sunday. Full preview Friday morning with me and Greg. Friday, coffee and C's. Any final thoughts, Greg, before we send the people out of here?
No final thoughts.
Join us Friday morning. Get your beans ready. Talk to you later. Peace.